and Caltrans are excited to begin construction of a new way to
Okay. Exact time is 6:02. Okay. Give you a second.
Yeah, Isaac's not coming in.
Just give us a few seconds. We just want to let them get settled.
Thank you.
Got all the candy I need to.
Well, there's no.
So, you know, retirement is really difficult. Good evening. It's 6:05 p.m., March the 2nd, 2022. Welcome to the City of Paris Planning Commission meeting. And all of us are in place, so we're ready to go. And if you would, you can have the roll call. Mr. Ryan.
Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Commissioner Gomez,
Here.
Vice Chair Shively,
Here?
Chair Hammond.
Here. At this time, would you stand? We're going to have a quick moment of silence, and then we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by, choose one, Commissioner Jimenez.
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, Liberty and justice. Thank you very much. Believe it or not, you can see faces today, so we're not hiding behind masks. Number 5 is presentation. I don't believe we have presentation. Surprised me. And we move on to item 6, the consent calendar. And if any one of the commissioners would like to pull one of the items off, feel free to say so now if you'd like to do that. If not, nobody? Okay. Okay. At this time, then, we will ask for public comment on the consent calendar. And if there's a public comment, either on Zoom or any place else. Don't think so. Okay. Okay. At this time, we'd like to enter a motion for the consent calendar item A, Planning Commission minutes for February 16, 2022, and B, street name review 2105246, proposal to rename 2 streets within tentative track map 37722, located at the northwest corner of Glen Valley Parkway and Murrieta Road. Requested action, approve street name review 21 and approve Planning Commission minutes for February 16. It's been moved by Vice Chairman Shively. Seconded by Commissioner Jimenez. Okay.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
I neglected to do this, and I'm going to do it now. We still, even though we're out with mask-free tonight, I'm going to go through COVID-19 remote public comment, citizen participation, just for the sake of reading it, with the intent of adhering to community guidelines from the Center for Disease Control. We will still allow for remote public comment and participation at our Planning Commission meeting via Zoom. And of course, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. March 2nd, 2022, 6 p.m., and at the Planning Commission is the topic. In order to provide public comment via Zoom, participants will be required to register in advance, or would have been required to register in advance, at the following link, which I think you can see on the website under the Planning Department. Okay. At this time, we move on to item 7A, public hearing. Development Plan Review, DPR 20-00014. A proposal to construct a 158,550 square foot industrial building on an 8-acre lot located at the northwest corner of Harley, Knox Boulevard and Redlands Avenue within the City of Paris Valley Commerce Center's Pacific Plan area. The applicant, Michael Goodwin, First Industrial. Requested action is adopt resolution number 22-06, adopting mitigated negative declaration number 2369, and approving development plan review 20-00014 based upon the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. And Mr. Nathan Perez will be presenting for the city.
Chairman Hammond,
Yes.
I did drive by the
Sorry,
site this
sorry.
afternoon.
Yeah. Drive-by, okay. Watch the word drive-by. Anybody have any other recusals or ex parte communication? Okay. I was going to get to me. I did go by the site. Why is it still warm in here? I'm sweating. That's what's bothering me. I'm sweating. But anyway, I'm going to get there. I did drive in the area of the site and did get out and notice it. Did not speak to anyone, but I did drive by this area and look extensively at this site. Okay. I don't know. Got to get some. No, that's good. Yeah. Okay. She's sweating. Jeez.
Okay, so I'll start my presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Commissioner Hammond and Planning Commissioners. Tonight we have before you the first Harley Knox industrial project, and the applicant is Mr. Paul LeBeau, who's in attendance tonight. So currently the project site is located within the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan area, located at the northwest corner of Harley Knox Boulevard and Redlands Avenue, and is currently zoned as light industrial, surrounded by light industrial zoning to the east and west and south, and also Moreno Valley city limits to the north. Here's the east view. There's an industrial building to the east located across Redlands Avenue. There's another industrial building located to the south, just south of Harley Knox Boulevard. And this is looking north to a vacant parcel, and beyond is actually the city of Moreno Valley. And here's the west view. So the applicant proposes 158,550 square foot industrial building on 8 acres. They propose 125 parking stalls and roughly a little bit under 49,000 square feet of landscaping. They also propose 3 points of access. 2 points of access will be along Redlands Avenue and 1 along Harley Knox Boulevard. And also they propose outdoor amenities, which are shown in the red box. They're proposing a shaded picnic area and also a bocce ball court. Paris staff has reviewed the project. It complies with the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan standards for lot coverage, floor area, structure height, and also setbacks. It also complies with the parking standards. So here's the rendering of what they're proposing on the architecture. They're proposing brick veneer, varying roof heights, staggering walls, and also they're clearly defining the entrances to the office area, providing storefront windows, and also providing architectural enhancements towards the front. This is the south elevation along Harley Knox Boulevard and Redlands Avenue. Also, during the initial study M&D 30-day review, City of Paris staff has received 3 comment letters. The first one is from RTA, which is Riverside Transit Authority, and they basically just stated that they had no comments. We also received a comment from the Airport Land Use Commission, and they basically stated that it was just informational. And the city of Moreno Valley actually sent us an email concerning the inclusion of 2 parcels within their city. City of Paris staff responded by stating that their comments did not raise new environmental issues and not applicable anymore, as of the 2 parcels in Moreno Valley are no longer part of the project. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 22-06, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2369 and approving development plan review 20-00014 based upon the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. I'm here to answer any questions that the commission might have, and also we have the applicant's representative, Mr. Richard Bilmutis, to answer any questions you might have for the developer.
Thank you very much, sir. And at this time, we have questions for staff on this project. Guess we can start either way. Okay. Okay.
Just
Mr. Gomez.
Yes, Commissioner Gomez. Just wanted to, can you just give me a brief, just insight on what the 2 parcels within the city with Moreno Valley, was it at some point in this construction was going to go into their city as well, or?
What they were proposing, the developer was proposing, was to include those 2 parcels. And we asked the developer to start conversations with the city of Moreno Valley to annex those 2 parcels within the city's jurisdiction through LAFCO. They provided a response letter basically asking for several concessions, such as annexing or connecting Kitchen Street to Redlands Avenue, incorporating the project as part of Moreno Valley Utilities,
Ah, okay.
and other stuff. So the city was so far apart from negotiations that the applicant decided just to not include those two parcels as part of this project.
I
To
see.
continue on with the process.
Okay. All right, and if I have any other questions, I'll refer to the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you're ready, Commissioner Nunes.
Hey, thank you. A quick question. I just went over the plans again, and I see that is auto entrance on, what is it, the west side and the east side for autos only?
That's correct. So city staff worked with the applicant. We know what the commission wanted. We wanted a good separation between passenger vehicles. We accomplished that thanks to Paul. He was able to work with us, and we were able to kind of separate, truck traffic aisles or drive aisles that were being utilized by trucks from passenger vehicle. So we had that good separation. And yes, there is one entryway for auto only along Redlands, and there's another one along Harley and Knox Boulevard, as you can see by the PowerPoint.
Okay, and I noticed that the main entrance to the building is going to be on Redlands.
That's correct.
So the people that are parked on, I guess, the backside would be what I would have called it if I was in the building. How are they going to access the building? I saw there's like little stairs, like the big rig type little stairways that we've seen in warehouses. Where would those people enter? What is the purpose of having that extra parking? Is it overflow? Is it?
Well, one of the conversations we had with the applicant is just to allow them to have employees enter through the warehouse rather than through the front office. The other reason why is to, it serves as a function, for fire access. The other reason why is to also to allow employees to either park there. So that's the reason why.
Okay.
It was just the design that they came up with, so.
I've never been to a warehouse where they let employees enter through the warehouse because of safety, number one, because usually most companies have a security guard. Even when I worked at the service center at Best Buy, we had our bags checked on our way in and out. So access through the warehouse is not something I've ever heard of in any warehouse situation I've worked in. So that's why I asked. I was wondering why they didn't move the building over. I understand the fire lane. That's what I thought it was too.
Mm-hmm.
But just,
And they could also split the building in the future if they ever want to.
okay, that was my next question, because maybe they could switch and have another office on the other side and then just use one sharing the truck lane. So, no, and I appreciate the separation. I appreciate the auto-only entrance. I guess that was my only concern, is access for the people on the other side. I figured it was going to be maybe splitting the building. I figured it was some of that. And the fire lane entrance and exit to have fire access all the way around the building, which is great. I guess my only concern with that is access into the building for the people parking on the other side, or how many employees they plan on having there at a time. It maybe just be overflow.
Okay.
Okay, that was it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Vice Chair Shively.
Excuse me. The entrance over from Redlands Boulevard for the pedestrian or auto traffic comes to a dead end, to a 14-foot high wall. Just north of that is the truck entrance. And wasn't an issue with the fire department that there is no clear path around the entire complete building?
No, there wasn't. This was actually routed over to our fire reviewer, and this was the final result. So essentially, a fire truck is going to be able to hammer in and technically go around the building and be able to provide, in case there's a fire, we'll be able to provide, a fire apparatus access throughout the whole entire building.
Okay, are they gonna, if they go into that auto area, will they be able to back out because it exceeds 150 feet?
Yes.
Without hammering?
Yeah, so let me just show you. So this is the fire access that we had that was reviewed by the fire marshal. As you could tell, that's the fire lane that's going to be provided, and it meets all our fire codes.
Thank you for sharing that. Also, can we remove the period on the FAR for 75%? It's not 0.75%, it should only be 75.
75. Oh, yes, I could do that.
Oh, that's the staff report.
Yeah.
That was a good catch.
That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Okay. Went to the site extensively. Since I have a lot of time, I can do these things. Become a holy terror, I know. One thing, I'm going to give you just an overview of what I've seen in that site. Let's start with adjacent property to the east is IDI Logistics, and it's a Home Depot. The street is wide enough, and there's ends in that little cul-de-sac roll, so what you're proposing is we're not talking big rigs, I'm assuming here. We're talking about the smaller vehicles. If we're talking big rigs, okay. There's a lot of big rigs coming out the other side and parking on the street rather than, but that's another story, okay? I know I sat right behind them. One issue, and this is an engineering issue, and you might have a hard time explaining this one. On the property, there are power poles. The power poles, not only on the property, but going north over the channel into the city of Moreno Valley. If we're required to underground them, how in the hell are you going to do that? Because the pole and the lines go over the channel into the city of Moreno Valley. So I'm just wondering what masterful thing is going to be done there, or maybe I'm just not aware how that's going to be done. So someone can explain that to me, because there's at least 2 or 3 power poles in that property. But for some reason, this one is not on the street, it's in the property. Okay.
Actually, you're right. They're within the city of Moreno Valley jurisdiction. So technically, it's not part of the development application, and therefore not within the city boundary.
Right. But what are we going to do with the power pole? Because you have to underground it on the property. So the line goes over the channel over into the city of Moreno Valley. So I'm just wondering, we say we require them to underground it. How? And those are some major power poles for power. I'm just wondering,
Yeah, actually, some of the communication cables may be able to underground, but if you go southerly, south of on Harley, Knox, and Redlands, we did not underground those. They're overheads because of their the power on those. They're over 66 kilovolts.
But the one on the property's got to come out, right?
Well, the one on the property, they actually will relocate.
Wow.
If it's in conflict with the development.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that was going to be done, masterfully done. 'Cause I have never seen that. And most of the time, you'll see the power poles running across, but that runs right in the property, so you either have to build around it, which you're not going to do, or you have to remove it, and that's a cost, even in itself. Okay. And it said, in fact, engineering condition number 16, to underground tables. So that's why I was wondering about that one. It's not going to be as easy, I think, as you think. But there's no option. Otherwise, we have a really misconfigured building. Okay. Also, and I'm one of these terrible people that read some of these M&D reports. Obviously, there's a legal non-conforming resident that's farther to the west. And the receptors that were done there were done kind of the southwest corner of that property. So I'm assuming they're proposing a 10-foot wall on the west side of this property. Going to leave the fence north because it doesn't matter, it's a flood channel, but it's a 10-foot wall. And over there is trucks that are parked, kind of scatter parked, and then whatever else is north of there. Yeah, I noticed this stuff, guys. So that is not within I think it's beyond 160 feet, so I think it gets outside the EL and all the other things. But still, that 10-foot wall is a solid wall, I'm assuming. It's not a screen wall.
It's a solid wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, they, obviously, this is not a major size, 800,000 worth, but the truck routes, I think on that street, again, when we start talking about signs coming out of that property. Now, there's no center median on Harley Knox there. So auto vehicles can turn in left, turn in right, whatever direction at this point, where it says auto only, because there is no center median unless there's one planned. I don't think there is on that end, right?
Chairman Hammond, there is a raised landscape median on Harley Knox.
But I mean, at that location, I don't think, well, maybe it was. All the way down that street?
Yes.
So they won't be able to turn left in there. They just have, ooh. So they're gonna have to do like a U-turn at Redlands and come around. Or we're gonna have a left turn into, well, the auto, yeah, they're gonna have to go up and go on the side. So you really can, for the south, it'd almost be coming, you can't turn in left, so you gotta make a U-turn and come around. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. I was just wondering, because I was wondering how you're gonna get the auto access on the south. I can see exit, but even exiting is cut off here, so you can't go north into the truck route, so you're literally gonna make a U-turn. Okay. Just trying to clarify, not criticizing, okay. Bocce ball, okay. I'll leave the comments about Moreno Valley out of this one. I'll be nice tonight. Okay. I think that was pretty much it for that. I just wanted some clarification on that. Right now, the east side makes sense. The south side is warehouse. The west side is that property that I'm still not sure what that zoning is next to it, but it does help to have a 10-foot wall, at least a barrier there, so whatever other projects or whatever that's proposed next to it, you don't have to worry about that issue, because we don't know that residence is there, but it's kind of more northwest, and it's like 300 feet away from this property. I was just wondering about there's some barrier, even though we don't have to, but at least there's some barrier there. Okay. I think that was it for me now, unless you guys had something else, and I think that was good. And
I would like.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Can you go back just to the traffic flow for the truck route, please? Okay. So trucks would have to exit right? Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, right,
'Cause
correct?
Because the main truck aisle is along Redlands, so they're gonna go down Redlands, they're gonna make a quick right to Harley Knox, and Harley Knox is a truck route.
Right,
It's gonna go all the way down to the I-215 freeway, so it's never gonna, trucks are gonna tend to go along the truck route anyway, so it's per the exhibit, it's just gonna, there's no reason why trucks should be going down Redlands, because
they're closer to the freeway on Harley Knox, so that's
Exactly.
perfect. But they would be able to enter left, so, because they'll be coming on Harley Knox, turning left on Redlands, so they'll be turning left in.
and then left in.
Left
Exactly.
in, right out?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions for
At
Commissioner
the-
Shively?
At the wrought iron gates, what is considered a high-quality view obscuring material?
Well, typically, based on my experience, is anything that has a mesh on there, something that prevents, anybody from the street to be able to look through and be able to see the truck courts.
It's not fabric.
No, it's not fabric. It's something that's metal, kind of like what you find in the metal screen doors. We don't want it to be solid because of the weight, but the whole purpose is just to reduce the visibility of the trucks from public view.
Thank you.
I have one more. Can we go back to the, what is it called? The area where you could see where we're looking at the site plan. Yeah. Back
This
to the
one?
site plan where we have the building and then we can see like the traffic, that one. So there's that wall and, I just thought about it after hearing Commissioner Shively. So when you go in on Redlands for the auto parking, they end at a 14-foot concrete screen wall, right? On the north side of the building.
Oh, you mean on the on the west side of the building, on the far right, left portion. Is
No,
that-
on the right, because that one I see there's fire access only, and it has like the double gates.
Okay.
On the other side where the parking is, and then you have the truck only access on top, and then it's the parking. That dead ends at a 14-foot high concrete screen wall. Do you know why they did that and not another gate like this one? I'm just thinking for
So-
fire engine purposes.
Yeah, so the reason why they did that is also to mitigate visibility from, the public view to the truck court.
Okay,
Because if it would have been like a wrought iron fence, people would have been able to see through. So that's the whole purpose, it's for screening purposes.
okay. Perfect, thank you.
In that same picture, what is the width of the auto lanes? Is it, as we go across from the auto only, what is the width of those lanes for the auto? Well, not the truck, but the auto.
I believe it's 26.
26?
Yes.
Okay.
That's our standard
I
requirement.
know, I know. Okay. Any other questions? Go
And
for it.
one more, back to the site plan. So I'm trying to see, is that a gate after that long strip and the truck route on the north side? There's
Ye-
gonna be a gate or something there?
Yes, that's the gate to the entrance to the truck court.
And is that gonna be just iron, wrought iron, or is that gonna be also the mesh material?
That's going to be wrought iron with a view obscuring mesh material.
That's the one that we were talking about. okay.
Yes, that's the
And
one.
then the fire access is gonna be
It's the
similar?
same. Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner? Chime in. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, do you have something else?
No.
Oh, okay. We can keep you there if you want. Okay, at this time, if the developer or applicant would like to make a presentation, and see, we don't know who you are, so could you tell us your last name?
I'll be more than happy to tell you my last name, Commissioner Hammond, or Chairperson Hammond, and members of the commission. Richard Belmutis with Albert A. Webb and Associates, and tonight we're representing our client, First Industrial, and Mr. Lubey is with me here tonight. Want to thank Mr. Fung and Senior Planner Perez for doing an excellent job. Just to touch on some of your questions beyond that, to clarify, the median is on Harley Knox, Chairperson Hammond. There's no median on Redlands.
Right.
So the cars from Redlands will have left in. They only have right out, but there's no reason to go left, right? It terminates. The parking on Harley Knox, you were both right. It is more of a secondary access parking lot. However, if in the future there's a desire to subdivide the building and have a different tenant, then you could put an office in that area. But the primary parking lot will be off of Redlands, also because you only have right in, right out of that entrance. I believe that touched on most of the items that I heard, and we agree with all the conditions, and I'm just here to answer any questions you might have.
Whoever wants to. No. No, you go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner
If you don't have
Gomez.
questions, that's okay
Oh.
too.
Yeah,
I'm good
Too
with that.
easy. Nah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Oh, okay, thank you. So earlier, we mentioned that you were too far apart with the city of Moreno Valley. And I'd like to know, can you just explain a little bit about that and tell us why they were so far apart to the point to where
Sure. Well,
couldn't work with them?
I'll give you kind of a background. It's really from the city's position.
Sure.
The applicant initially, actually, the applicant has control of the site. So obviously, they would prefer to have a larger site and have more buildings. So the initial discussions with the city was go talk to Moreno Valley and look into a possible annexation. So the applicant did do that, went to the city of Moreno Valley. We talked about it, and then not getting too much into the details, but the city of Moreno Valley wanted to share some of the tax base as well as the property taxes. And it was the city administration's position at that time that they didn't want to do that. So we'd be more than happy to go back and ask if the two cities can agree. However, we'd ask for approval tonight, and if you if that's become an alternative in the future, we'd be more than happy to. It seems to make sense, but right now, Moreno Valley seems to be asking a lot from the city of Paris.
So would the approval or denial of this have any influence on that at all?
No, subsequent to that, we redesigned the site without it.
Okay.
The applicant went through, a lot of expense for not to try to do that, and then we had to modify it to take it out. But that's what we have now, and so in order to please Moreno Valley and not have to acquiesce to some of their requests, we've modified it to not include the city of Moreno Valley's property.
Okay, well, I do hope that an agreement is reached. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mendes, okay? Commissioner Seifert?
Mr. Bermudez, along the right-of-way, there is no landscaping there. It will be submitted later for LMD. Is that correct?
In the medium, or?
In the right-of-way.
Oh, in the right, absolutely. Well, actually, the requirement from Public Works was to have a Class 1 bike
Bike path.
lane, so it's going to be
With it
gravel as well as the parkway. So there'll be some parkway, and yes, we'll be landscaping that part. I believe the medium's already landscaped by a development to the south, at least along the frontage for this project.
So the area between the property line and the street will be crushed gravel and a bike path? Is that what you're
Correct, per the request of Public Works.
saying? For LMD, okay.
I believe there's crushed gravel as well. They call it a multi-purpose path, and then a sidewalk. And then there will be some additional parkway. In fact, we've agreed to provide an additional 2 feet of easement to get that landscaping, which will be the applicant's property. However, it'll be under the median. It'll be considered part of the parkway to accommodate the bike path or the bike trail, multi-purpose trail.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm just curious, it's a lighter note, don't worry. There's a concrete structure on the property. I can't imagine what that was. You guys have any idea what that, quote, concrete piece of structure was on the property?
So I believe there was a lot of discussion about it being a water well, but we've concluded that it's abandoned, and we'll have to further confirm that. But
Okay, maybe 7 years ago, who knows? Okay, that's it for me. Anything else? Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much, sir. At this time, we open up for public comment, either on Zoom, IT, if there's anyone, I'm not sure, or nobody on Zoom?
Chair Hammond, no, sir.
Okay. Okay, and at this time, yeah. And for now, if you want public comment, please come to the dais, yeah. And just state your name and spell your last name. No address.
T-H-R-E-E-T, like the number 3 with the T at the end. I'm a resident of Paris.
Come closer to the
I'm a
mic.
resident of Paris, 20 years.
We want to hear you. Okay. Okay.
I've been having problems with taco stand illegally perched on a lot by my house. The smoke was bad. I'm an open heart patient. I have to have another open heart surgery. This went on for months. I knew the owner of the property. There was some negotiations of monies that wasn't supposed to be, I don't know. But code enforcement, the guy Trejo was there. I had been
Okay,
in
ma'am,
touch
is
with-
this related to this particular project?
Oh,
development?
no, I'm complaining about code
No,
enforcement, though.
No, not if this is only related to this.
Can I ask questions to what he just had going on?
Yeah, for this particular agenda item, yes.
Okay, well, from my experience with code enforcement and the guy running it, Trejo, I would suggest that that plan be considered a rough draft and they redo it properly the way it should be, because this is how they set up so that later there's confusion in the paperwork. And they say, well, Moreno Valley changed their mind. They did this, they did that. They alter paperwork and suggestions and all this. Everything gets confused and everyone has an excuse for why things are not done correctly. I tried to make a complaint against the guy at code enforcement and told them who I was complaining about. They had me wait 20 minutes for him to take the complaint against himself. They are very dishonest. I've been harassed by code enforcement. All I can say about code enforcement is the whole office needs to be investigated. I guess I'm back off of this, but that's what I can say about code enforcement for the city of Paris.
Okay.
I have proof of many things that they have going on that they're condoning and assisting with illegally in Paris, and no one's taking the time to come see what I have or taking any further. I'm literally being harassed. I'm barricaded in my house because of code enforcement and these things that they have going, illegal activities.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the public would like to comment? I still think we have no one on Zoom, right? Okay. Okay, we close the public hearing at this.
Mr. Chair, if I may, given that we
Do you
had
want
some
them to-
public
okay.
comment, we would be prudent to allow the applicant to respond if.
Okay. If you would like to. Okay. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, though. This time we close the public hearing and bring it to the commission for discussion, comment.
Just a quick mention. I understand the point between the cities taking responsibility over the parts of the city that are being built. And so at that fact, I understand clearly. So I thank you for your comment, and it is very, it does matter that each city come to an agreement as to what streets they're going to take care of, who is going to enforce the codes for illegal vending and sales, anything that goes on, trucks parked on the side of the road or on a private property where it's not part of code enforcement. So I do understand that. So thank you for bringing your comment, and I hope that the applicants are able to understand that as well, and when they do come to an agreement with the city of Moreno Valley. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jimenez?
My only concern was that no access from that, western side? So that was it. I guess my concern there initially also was that, having that fire access only at any time, which wouldn't be bad if the truck lane could have gone in through the northern side around and out, because they're going on Harley Knox anyway, so that wouldn't be bad. I guess my concern would be if they split it and then they use that as a truck and fire access. That's not what's on the plan. So, but that is my only concern when having it set up that way. Other than that, I think the plans are good. We just want to encourage the developers when they start looking at landscaping. We've brought it up with other applicants, just using native plants, trying to make sure they're plants that are going to thrive in the area and just make it as aesthetically appealing as possible, things that bloom at different times of the year, just so that it's always pretty instead of just pretty in the spring. But I'm sure that's all going to be taken into account. So that's it. You what? You saw your tree there. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair, I know, Vice Chair Simon.
So I do wish there was actually a true path of truck routes from Moreno Valley to here instead of directly through Harley Knox. Unfortunately, the path would actually be most likely from Paris Boulevard to Harley Knox to this site. I wish that could be resolved another way, but through time with the other parcel that is actually in Moreno Valley, I think that will have to be worked out over time through them, and the buildings might even look a little bit different. I don't know if the standards from Moreno Valley is a lot less stringent than we are. The buildings might look a little bit different because it's on different parts of the city or two different cities. But I do think the elevations are very adequately. They're using the stone again for the second time, or the CME block a second time. or bricks. But I think it does look more appealing than now that I look at it the second time than the first time. So it's, yeah, thank you. Although, it's not an issue. I saw an error in the presentation board, but it's fine. I understand what it is. As of now, I think that's all I have for this project.
Yes, thank you. I like the architecture. And again, I think we've raised the bar, so I think the staff understand it, hopefully by now, and developers understand it. This is a commission. It's going to be very tough to get through without those enhancements. So as I've said many times, bring it, or you'll be doing it again. So it's best to go on and do it right because we have pride in our city. I'm not sure I care what Moreno Valley and I care about Menifee. In our city, we want to up the standards so that when people look at a building, even warehouse, since we have to do them, they're high quality. So we appreciate staff doing that, working with us, being patient with us. My only concern with this project, I go back to something that might seem simple, but work out the electric pole. That's going to be an issue, and I've just been around 20 years. I know it's going to be an issue. So we need to work that out, get the writing, trust staff to do that. But you can't just move that pole and it affects Moreno Valley across the way. It doesn't work like that. So how are we going to do that? That's an engineering thing, and I'm not an engineer. I'm a public administrative person. But I appreciate them not doing Moreno Valley because you'd have to understand city government. It would take you probably a long time to get through this process. And I know they don't want to spend time working with government. Again. So I know what the city governments will do. They'll drag this out. Okay. So it makes sense not to be including that right now. But the electric pole thing, it's only because I sat there, and I always encourage you have to go and look. And I saw that. That's not a complaint. It's not a negative. I'm just really concerned that it's on property. And what can we really do to put that so when it gets to the, when you understand the moving something like that, it can be very expensive anyway. But to either put it underground, and then how do you underground it when it's going over the channel? And the channel there's a fence. And I sat there and watched employees go through that fence over to the IDI Logistics. Now, they must have walked the path of the utility. There's a paved road, and the other side I think is dirt, but they walked in right, at first I thought it was homeless people. They're walking right through the fence going into I guess they worked there. Another group came after that. I'm going, so right on the street there, they're just walking right in there and going into the IDI Logistics. So, so that was interesting. And 2 trucks stop in front of me while I'm sitting there. So anyway, I think basically overall the design and I think the colors and the scheme is all that. We're getting away from earth tones, which nobody wants. It's not the 1980s and 90s anymore. Let's get away from that brown stuff. Okay. So I really appreciate what's there and really no complaints. So other than that, I'm good. I don't think we had any additional things on here. Okay.
Commissioner, having one additional thing that needs to be revised before we take note. Item 20 on page 4 of the conditions of approval. The graffiti and property maintenance needs to be revised, and a section of there needs to be removed for that states twice that this site shall be maintained graffiti free at state at all times. It's stated twice.
Number 20, right?
Yep,
COA.
20.
Okay.
Number 20?
Yep, it does. On the conditions of approval, page 4, item 20.
I must have missed it. Number 20?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the site shall be maintained.
Okay, number 20 is right. Number 20. Okay. Okay. They added the other language, but then they repeated that. Okay. Number 20. Okay. COA. Okay. Okay.
We got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good. Okay. And with that, item 7A, development plan review, 20-0014, proposal to construct a 158,500 square foot show building on an 8 acres lot located in northwest corner of Harley Knox Boulevard, Redlands Avenue, within the Paris Valley Commerce Center. Specific plan, adopt resolution number 22-06, adopting mitigated negative declaration number 2369, and approving development plan review 20-00014, based on the findings, subject to conditions of approval, with approval number 20, COA. The wording that to the effect, I'm not sure what it was, maybe you caught it.
Yeah, it was just a duplicate of
Okay.
graffiti removal.
Okay, okay. And I think that was it. Okay, if there's any, want to take a vote at this point in time? Okay, Commissioner Jimenez has moved it, and seconded by Commissioner Gomez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner Gomez, Vice Chair Shively,
Yes?
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, gentlemen. And at this time, we move on to item 7B, tentative parcel map 38225, PLN 21-05246. A finance map to subdivide 28.32 acres into 3 lots for finance and convenience purposes, located at the northwest corner of Etherneck Road and Green Valley Parkway. The applicant, Matt Villabolos, I got it wrong, Raintree Investment Corporation, sorry. Adopt resolution as requested action number 22-05, finding that the proposal is covered by the second addendum to the final EIR of the Green Valley Specific Plan, pursuant to section 15162 of the CEQA guidelines, and also exempt from CEQA pursuant to the common sense exemption under CEQA guidelines section 15061B3, and approve tentative parcel map 38225, PLN 21-05246, based on the findings contained in the resolution and attached exhibits. Even though it's a finance map, do we have any purpose in recusing or ex parte communication, or simply driving by the site?
I know, I drive by the site nearly daily.
Okay.
I know the site.
Okay.
Drive by the sides
Yes.
frequently.
Yes, it's been by the site as well. Okay. And again, this is Nathan Perez. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item we have before you, as you mentioned, we have a financing map within the Green Valley Specific Plan, tentative parcel map 38225, and the applicant is Mr. Nick Johnson, who's in attendance in Zoom tonight. So as mentioned earlier, the financing map is located within the Green Valley Specific Plan, located at the northwest corner of Green Valley and Etherneck Road, currently zoned as multifamily, and surrounded by multifamily to the north, R6000 to the east, actually the west, and commercial to the east. So some background information, there's an underlying map, which is track map 37818, which was approved with 5 other track maps through a specific plan amendment, which was approved by the City Council February 9th, 2021. The master developer would like to obtain approval of the financing map, so that way they're able to sell the multifamily component to a merchant home builder, and also sell the apartment community to an apartment developer. Please note that the underlying conditions of approval for the map remain unchanged, and they're not proposing to change any of the conditions. And no, this map will not allow the developer to construct. So this concludes my presentation. Staff recommends to adopt resolution number 22-05, finding that the proposal is covered by the second addendum of the final EIR of the Green Valley Specific Plan, and also approve tentative parcel map 38225 based on the findings contained in the resolution and attached exhibits. So this concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions. Also, Mr. Nick Johnson, who's in Zoom, could answer questions in behalf of the developer.
Okay, thank you very much. We have any questions for the city staff at this time?
Nathan,
Mr. Shively.
I'm trying to recall, I thought that, I wasn't sure if it was, I know there's a fault line somewhere on this property or near this property. Is it this property that has a fault line that runs through the middle of it?
You mean a channel?
A fault line?
Yep.
No, there isn't a fault line.
No, there are no fault.
Oh, somebody's talking. Okay, I just got interrupted by somebody. No, there isn't a fault line going through this. It would have showed up in the geotechnical report.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking of a different property nearby, I think. Because we were talking about an apartment complex and the way it was being split up. There was a fault line that run down the middle of it, so it might have been a different property. That was a few years back that it was going through. I guess the additional question I have is that the parcel that's going to be divided or sold to the for the single family developer, or do they plan on revising that to be sold as condos or townhouses, or is that what they're intended to change this area to?
No, I think, well, essentially what the underlining track will remain the same, but they want to sell it off in big pieces. So there isn't a developer in the market that's going to develop apartments and multifamily. So that's why with this map, they're able to have that flexibility of being able to sell one portion of the project to a merchant home builder and the other one to an apartment home builder.
I'm not sure that answer your question, Mr. Shively, but the cluster homes, I believe there is like 130 lots, so there's an underlying, and I think the way the map was originally designed, they could sell those homes individually already for the cluster homes. But as Mr. Perez said, the whole purpose is to separate the two maps, so because there's different type of builders, and typically they don't build both type of products at one time, or they're not in that business of building both type of products.
Okay. That's what I was kind of wondering, if the underlying was going to remain the same, if it was still going to be clusters, or are they going to sell them off similar to like townhomes or condos, so. That's all the questions I have at this moment.
So guessing the plan is not going to change. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the plan was submitted as it is right now, one whole piece without the division in the red, right? City Council approved it that way.
That's correct.
So now the applicant's coming to us to ask us that it be separated?
Yes, so that way they're able to sell it to, because they're in the market of selling, whatever's entitled. And like I mentioned earlier.
So they want to sell the plan?
They want to sell it in pieces.
So it's not developed yet, it's not going to be developed yet, but they want to be able to sell it. This is a plan that we sent to the city, it's been pre-approved, so that if you want to buy it, you can go ahead and build it.
Exactly, but as of right now, whoever buys it will have to build the apartments and multifamily together. And what they're
Right.
wanting to accomplish today is to separate them through the parcel map process.
Was it mentioned as to why? I have an idea, but I want to make sure, because I don't want to assume anything.
Yeah, that's a question we might want to ask, the applicant once.
Yes.
So.
Thank you.
Have we seen something like this before? Is it common for somebody to come in and get approval on something and then turn around and try to sell it off in sections? I don't know if that's common.
Yeah, I in this particular type of situation, the developer just didn't I guess, envision long-term what would be the implication of putting it one map with both type of product. So that's why they're coming back. There is, people do financing map. We have done them a long time ago. But typically they're done because when you go get bank funding, they would like to fund not more than 150 lots at a time. And so in this particular type of situation, they just want to separate out, because if they wanted to sell it to an apartment builder, and the applicant would be better, as you explained. It's easier to get the funding to get the apartment going, or to do the cluster home, get the funding for the cluster home going by separating it out. So you can, because when you finance a project, you have to create a boundary for that development, if that makes sense.
It does, but I guess I have that question as well for the applicant, because if this is a business they're in, they should have foreseen that would have been an issue, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Candace, by chance, will we see this map? Will we see this map one more time when if they decide to sell off the individual units as another track map or air map?
No, it would go through a final map. The only time it would go back unless they wanted to amend the apartment project or amend the cluster homes. But beyond that, those design and later has already been pre-approved.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past, yeah, this was pretty common to look at finance, particular lots. A lot of it was residential, single family. This was almost weekly with us. They wanted to get originally come in, they were desperate, sweating, every kind of thing, because we needed the project approved, and then the next one would build because they couldn't do it. So the person who was basically the front would sell the project for residential back in early 2000. It was pretty common. Not saying it should be, I'm just saying that was pretty common. This project, I only have two questions. One of them, it's already been approved as multifamily dwelling units, so we're not talking about anything different. For finance purposes, there are companies that do apartment buildings, and there are companies that do residential. And some in the city, you see all residential, they don't build apartments. Some build apartments only, they're doing residential. It's just, like you're saying, yeah, probably should have been thought about earlier, but finances change, times change. And when this was originally done, quite a few years ago, the original plot plan was multifamily anyway. We need a lot of multifamily housing. It's just getting someone to do it. So that's one of those considerations. Now, on this map that you're showing here, the apartments, I'm taking the cluster at the bottom portion, those square big blocks. So that's the apartment portion that's proposed, the 243 units.
Yes, everything, the bottom portion of the site plan are apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, the whole bottom portion.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember originally 2010 or way back, we were looking at that, but now it's coming to fruition. Okay, so I was just wondering that was the main thing. So I think it's what they're asking for is pretty self-explanatory, but there's not much I can add. It's just the financing map. Okay, any more questions?
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
Was the parking in the apartment complex, was that approved with no solar shade on the parking?
There's actually carports, and that's something that we required. It's not shown on the map because
Okay.
it's really, really small in scale.
Yeah,
But we did request carports along there,
okay.
so.
One more. Nathan, I'm assuming, I'm seeing trees and the center divider, and there's some beautification that I'm assuming came connected to this originally.
Mm-hmm.
So originally it was going to be one person, or not one person, but one applicant in charge of beautifying that whole section. Do you know how that's going to change, or did they talk about the impact of who's going to be in charge of what section and how much that's going to cost?
Which section are you particularly looking
So
into?
outside of the perimeter, there's
Oh, yeah, that's,
landscaping, are they gonna go straight across?
yeah, so the landscaping along the right-of-way, Green Valley, that's gonna be through a LMD, Landscape Maintenance District. So whoever comes first is gonna have to build Green Valley Parkway, and they're going to have to annex the whole strip into a landscape maintenance district.
Okay, that was one of my questions because I was worried about, everything south from here section, it's gonna have certain plants and landscaping, and here from north, we're gonna have something else, just so that there was a flow to the landscaping. And from a, I guess, city perspective, do we see any benefits or negative impacts in doing this kind of thing?
No, I think it just helps the development move forward. It gives the developer flexibility. They're not asking for any of the change of the conditions. Want to make sure we understand that all the frontage improvements along both sides will be developed. They're not asking for any of those changes. They're simply asking to create the flexibility so that they can go pursue whoever wants to go buy first, whether that's an apartment builder or the cluster homes can go finance their project.
Okay, and I mean, they went through the process originally, so it was approved, and it was vetted, and everything went through before it was approved by city council in 2021, so,
Yeah, they just didn't think through what would be the implication, and they were just trying to get the project entitled. That's Nick would be
the person
the
asked.
person to
Yeah.
better explain why they didn't think that in advance.
Right, okay, well, that was it, I was just thinking landscaping and the flow to make sure our city doesn't have choppy cutoff lines for certain types of landscaping, thank you.
Nathan, one final question. To the east of Green Valley Parkway and Ethanac Road, there is an existing drainage basin. I believe it is for the adjacent parcel along the adjacent parcel that sits for Winco and Home Depot and stuff. Is that being affected at all with the Green Valley Parkway roadway?
Yeah, I'd like to refer that question over to the city engineer.
Commissioner Shively, yeah, there will be an extension of the storm drain channel that will be, conveying the runoff into the main channel. The underlying developer's condition to provide that channel under Green Valley Parkway to extend the channel. The basin, the water quality aspects of it will remain as is.
So the basin will remain, but like an overflow will go into the channel?
Well, it'd be a conveyance,
Okay.
correct.
Can
Because
we
we're-
go back to that map right there? So it's, on this little map here is actually on the bottom right-hand corner. I think I see it barely on the map, so I think I see it going under the road.
You referring to the channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that there will be a box under Green Valley Parkway, a
Yeah.
box culvert, to convey the runoff from east side of Green Valley Parkway.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, sir.
You have questions for the city?
I am good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Nathan Perez. At this time, I think our applicant is on Zoom. Mr. Nick Johnson, or whoever the applicant would, if you'd like to make a presentation, or at this time, please go for it.
Good evening, commissioners. I think they'll have to turn on my video. There we go. Maybe. If not, Commissioner Hammond and commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight. Nick Johnson, representing Green Valley Recovery Acquisition, who's the developer of the entire Green Valley property. Here with you again. As you'll recall, a little over a year ago, City Council approved our latest phase of the Green Valley development and worked with you extensively back in December of 2020 in this particular map. And again, reiterating tonight that this is a very simple finance map, no changes whatsoever to the underlying development. This is really just a mechanism, as Kenneth and Nathan both pointed out, to allow sale of these track maps, the tentative track maps, to specific developers for the product types that we're talking about here. Very specifically to apartment builders who focus on apartment building, and that's their business. They specialize in it, and as you probably are aware, with many merchant builders, they're actually portfolio builders, and each of them are looking for certain types of properties to put into their portfolio as they build those properties. And so that's why they specialize in those various areas. So in this case, splitting this very specifically to the apartment portion and the multifamily cluster type product, as part of this development. Again, all the underlying conditions continue with the maps regardless. And with regard to the question about foresight of the splitting of this, again, finance maps are a pretty common tool for making this kind of focus of particular areas. And while it wasn't really apparent in everything that we were talking with you about in December of 2020 when these set of track maps were coming forward, but there was a lot of work on the development standards around the types of products that were being brought forward. And you might recall that the specific plan amendment from that time period was about approving a whole new set of development standards that come forward in these maps. And the apartment product had never really been specifically lined out in those development standards previously. And so this was a track that looked to try and accomplish some of the variability in the types of living products that were being provided as part of the Green Valley specific area. And so this tract was chosen as the place where that apartment product be worked in, but it was kind of in process while those tract maps were being developed. And so, back to, had there been the foresight of that, there was already a tract map in process, a great deal of expense to actually create those maps. And so this, being that step of just, again, a finance map to split them logically to the types of merchant builders that are going to focus on them. So with that, I'll leave it there. Any questions? Happy to talk to you further about it. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. And for the commission, are there any questions? I think you were waiting. Whoever would like to go first for the applicant.
Yes, thank
Commissioner
you.
Gomez.
Thank you, Nick, for taking the time to answer our questions. So this would be something that I'm definitely, learning as having, I knew of this project, but I'm seeing it now. And my concern is, and if you can answer, my first question is, will there be any possibility for these to be sold to two separate builders?
These two maps, these two finance maps?
Yes.
That's absolutely the approach here.
Okay.
In fact, the reason for splitting them is to have two different builders that specialize in each of the products.
So what would keep one of the builders from not keeping with the site map with the way it was approved? Because my concern is, I've seen these developments in other cities. I just saw one this weekend, and I was actually surprised because it looks like a whole little town on its own. It's actually pretty cute. I know that it's going to be beneficial, especially with apartments, but I did see and I did notice some of the issues with, you can tell that they were two developers because there's a shared entrance. The parkways are shared, some of them, and so are some of these streets. And so can we guarantee that the scape or the elevation and the coloring is going to stay the same and it's going to be cohesive? Is that something that can be guaranteed with this kind of separation?
Absolutely. In fact, again, remember that that the underlying design standards for this map, as well as for all of Green Valley, this is one tract map in a very large, over 4,000 home development, and so this is being one part of it. Has a very specific set of design guidelines that come with it, both for the homes themselves, as well as all of the amenities and landscaping and everything that you see on those plans. And what I would really turn you to is the proof in the pudding. What's already being built in Green Valley. So we already have 2 tracks that are almost completed, on Green Valley right now along Ethan-Ac. It's been something we have invested a little over $70 million in infrastructure development to create that cohesive neighborhood, and all of the infrastructure, the roads, the landscaping, right now we're in the process of designing the Green Valley Park, which is about a 32-acre regional park associated with the project. Our commitment all along has been to the city and to creating this community as part of this development. And so our job is to ensure that we're getting good quality builders like have come to the city to already participate, and you're going to see more of it as a result of this action.
I haven't driven by this. I know that some of my fellow commissioners have, but has ground been broken on this yet?
No, this is not at that approval stage. This finance map will help to facilitate that, the sale to the merchant builders. And then at that point, all of the conditions of approval with the underlying maps, the original tentative tract maps that were approved, would all be applied. As Mr. Fung pointed out earlier, the final maps will have to be recorded for each of the lots associated with this. And so that process will continue forward.
What is the possibility of the approval, with the approval of this finance map here, what is the possibility for the price of these homes to go up?
Well, the price point associated with these homes is,
and the reason,
is really
I'm sorry,
market-based.
the reason I'm asking is because I want to see if there's going to be a benefit from this for the fellow residents that are going to be coming in and purchasing them.
Well, I think and what I would say is absolutely the value of the overall development is going up progressively over time. There again, as I said, the investment in the infrastructure that's created the Green Valley development. You'll see us coming back before you here in the spring with or we'll be going out to bid for the development of the Green Valley Regional Park as part of this. All the infrastructure that we put in place, all the landscaping that we put in place already is already greatly increasing the value of this property. Less sexy things like the drainage channel, the Romoland channel that comes through this area. We actually created that channel to be able to even make this site buildable. So just great examples of, again, our commitment to ensuring that this project goes forward as a cohesive whole, even though it's being developed a piece at a time, that it meets the city standards, and that it's adding value to all of the owners that will be there both today and in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience with my questions, and the reason.
Oh, it's okay.
I really want to reiterate because we want the housing that's coming in to stay affordable. And with the prices, as you said, there is value. However, the prices just seem to be out of reach for a lot of our current residents here in the city of Paris. And so we'd like to make sure that this doesn't negatively impact their ability to purchase a home and stay within the city of Paris. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Hi, thank you for being here. My question, I guess, is what's the game plan? Because I noticed that C Street, which is the main entrance into both sections, is cut off at the southern side. So it looks like that would be developed as part of the, not the apartments, but like the condo areas on top, on the northern side. So what happens if the apartment side is sold first? Is that going to be a dirt road? Or are we going to change that line? Whoever comes in first gets to develop that main street. I guess I want to know what the game plan is for developing that main street if the apartments sell first and are built first.
Sure. Good question. I think we actually have an engineering condition on that that possibility that requires first in. So the first to develop will be the one responsible for that entrance, and I think it also limits, that being the primary entrance for the development. So it's a great question, and I think engineering has already addressed that within their conditions.
Thank you. I think they're double checking. I don't think we got that this time around.
The way it's conditioned, that main roadway between the two projects will be built, regardless of who goes first. That main road into that, in between the cluster and the apartment, that will be built, in addition to all of the frontage, both in the apartment and the cluster homes. If that makes sense.
There is a northerly entrance into.
There is, and I think there's a southerly one exit too. I guess I just want to make sure it's built first because the apartments, they will have a southerly exit. And I remember talking about this section, and we're talking about access, and I just want to make sure that that is developed. So I don't know if, I think I just want, who would develop it and at what point, just because if the apartments are built first and it's part of the condos, are they going to wait and have a dirt road or so? That's my question.
Commissioner Jimenez, if I may. I don't know if, Nathan, do we have the exhibit that shows the actual tentative parcel map? Because that defines the easement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you look at this, you'll see in between parcels 2 and 3, there's a defined easement area that would have to be provided for access. It's dashed in. I don't know if you can see that.
It's the reciprocal. It's the reciprocal
No, it's a
easement.
reciprocal easement.
Is it that little dash thing right above the bar?
Whichever
Correct.
goes in, correct.
So where we have that, because it's burgundy on our screen, that burgundy line, the little section above that's kind of dashed.
The burgundy line is the parcel boundary.
Okay.
But right above that, just west of Green Valley Parkway, if you, I don't
The
know,
little dashed lines,
yeah, that's your reciprocal
Correct.
access.
the ones that kind of like, they go down right before it dips a little? Yeah? Is it these?
No, it'd be part of any, it's a reciprocal access.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not part of Green Valley Parkway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I could, if you go to page 101 of the entire planning packet, you'll see the actual tentative parcel map, and that's where the reciprocal easement is shown on that tentative parcel map.
Okay, and reciprocal means that, when does it get built?
Whoever goes in first.
It means
is a
whomever goes first.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify,
They have
just whoever
this-
goes in first, that's the one in charge, because the parcel map is divided underneath, so I'm glad we have that reciprocal. So whoever goes in first, they're just gonna build for access. Thank you.
Ooh, my screen went out. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, any other questions for the applicant, Commissioner Shive?
I just got a quick technical question. One of the conditions of the engineering conditions is that you got to raise the site out of the 100-year flood zone. By chance, you know what that elevation change is to the current grade level?
I don't know it off the top of my head. I know 1420 to 1422 is kind of the general pad elevation in the area. I'd have to look back at the original parcel map and the pad elevations, the tentative parcel map to get the actual pad elevations, but I know that was worked into the original engineering of those.
By chance, does a city engineer have an idea?
I don't recall, but I believe that is the final pad elevation. And actually some of the drainage channels that are in place, that helps with the FEMA evaluation.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So you don't have to raise it a lot more if there were no channels.
Raise it up too much. A question not pertaining to this particular project, but in Green Valley in general. Has the school sites been chosen, and do you know by chance how many school sites will be in place in the whole entire Green Valley Ranch?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
One school.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Hold on.
I believe that that is not the item that's before the commission, unfortunately. So we would be straying a bit far at that point.
Okay. Right.
Okay, any more questions for? Okay, you guys covered all the observations. I think I'll probably do that during discussion. I'll save that for then. But if
Takes a while.
okay, push the screen. Okay, at this time we have public comment on this particular agenda item. If there's anyone on Zoom, and I don't know that there is. IT?
Commissioner Hammond, there's nobody on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And if there's anyone in the, is there anyone out in the audience that has a public comment on this particular agenda item? Please come forward and state your name. We don't need the address. Just state your name and spell your last name for us. That's just for the record. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Gerald Volomino, spelled Volomino. And just from hearing some comments, I would just like to mention that, number one, the longer it takes to get the approvals to build these out, the more expensive they're going to be. It's just like right now. Last year, we were paying 10% less, maybe 20% less at the supermarket. And real estate escalates, building costs. Lumber almost tripled during the COVID thing, especially with this supply chain thing. So I'm just making the point that anything that you could, in other words, also, if this were all sold as one chunk, then no developer's going to go in and build 400 or 500 units at a time. They have to, chunk it out, 50 here, 50 there, until those are bought off. So being able to divide it like this amongst two different products is an advantage to the city because it will get built out further. And the only other thing I'm sure many of us are concerned about is we have no idea where the economy is going. And if we go into a big slump before a lot of this stuff gets built out, it could sit there for another 10 or 15 years like it has from 2005 to 2020. And that's the only thing I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else for public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you very much. We close the public hearing then. You want to respond?
As a matter of form, we would have to let the applicant respond.
I'll get used to it. Thank you. If the applicant would like to, we never had in the past, so I got to get back in this thing with that. Applicant would like to have a response. Feel free at this time if you would like to have one. Mr. Johnson.
Commissioner, thank you, but no further comments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for reminding me. Got to get used to that part of it again. Okay. We take it to the commission for discussion, comments, and anyone can start. You can flip a coin if you want.
I'll be happy to start.
Yeah, okay.
Just wanted to again, thank the presenters for their patience with the commission, myself especially. And just wanted to point out that this was approved back on February 2021. I'm not sure why it's here today, but I'm glad to see it. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez?
I guess all my questions were answered. I was just wondering why this is the first of this type that I've seen. So I had a lot of questions, but they were all answered. So that's it. I learned about reciprocal and what that means in building. Thank you.
Commissioner Shively.
I want to thank Mr. Terramino for his comments. He's very much correct in his statements. We have no idea what the economy is going to be doing today or tomorrow. But breaking this up into two separate parcels is a good thing, especially because bank financing and the way it works is that the bigger the project, the more capital the owner actually has to have to be able to build it. So in separate pieces, separate developers, two different products, apartment and cluster residences is two different products, and there's specialties in each one that two developers can provide for the city of Paris. But yeah, I just think it's just a necessity for us to get this approved.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm not going to belabor the point. I understand totally because in all the years in the commission, we did a lot of these with residential. Nobody was going to build 500 at a time. So they would go back and come in different phases and just to get the financing. One of the things that would help you to kind of give an overall before we get into it, if you go back to the packet, it says PVCC SP zoning, and it's a project site map. Now, I was here originally when we approved this years ago. It's probably about 12 years ago, 10 years ago. It's been around, and it's approved as a master plan community, guys. So a lot of this developer is really kind of responsible for all the landscaping, whether it is homeowner associations. All that is one particular thing. You might have different builders, but it's part of that overall package, so they have to adhere to that package. That zoning map shows you multifamily housing already incorporated into it, multifamily housing, which is townhomes and things like at the top. So that was there originally. You talk about master plan community on the east side as business and professional, right? So it's bringing in shops, things of that sort. This is what we looked at years ago, guys. Also, in the school, things are incorporated that we won't get into here. It was already approved. But commercial there, commercial, business, professional, all adjacent. So it was intended to be a community that was encompassing. It's one of the few that we actually have in front of us that does that. But that was the whole intent of that. The architecture was supposed to be different. The style was supposed to be different. They actually talking about townhomes and is really a miracle. Because we only have one set that's off of Baird in that area. That's unbelievable that the city would only have that. But those prices are there. Obviously, it's market-driven. So market-driven, unless you can get loans and things from the state of California, you get grants, it's going to be market-driven. Okay? It's very difficult to do that unless you get funding to do that and go to the state feds and all that to subsidize the housing and all that. It's very difficult because the price of things is so high. And so if you get federal, you have prevailing wage issues. So it's the cost have just increased. So it makes it difficult to get those projects on D Street that were built with that kind of funding. When you had CRA, the CRA's gone. So now you have to kind of build and kind of get funding for apartments, and I say just kind of good luck. It's difficult, and the prices here are high. So we're really just looking at a financing map here. So this is no changes in the development, no changes in the structure. It's just the idea of trying to get this sold. So I don't have a problem with that. If there was, I would voice it, but I really don't have an issue with that. So with that, unless someone else has anything else to add. No one? Okay. I'm shocked. Okay. Tentative parcel map 38225. I don't need to read the PLN. A finance map to subdivide 28.32 acres into 3 lots for finance and conveyance purposes, located at the northwest corner of Ethernack Road and Green Valley Parkway. Requested action. Adopt resolution number 22-05, finding that the proposal is covered by the second addendum to the final EIR of the Green Valley Specific Plan, pursuant to Section 15162 of the CEQA guidelines, and also exempt from CEQA pursuant to the Common Sense exemption, I don't know what that is, under CEQA guidelines, Section 15061, B and 3, and approve tentative parcel map 38225, PLN 2105246, based on the findings contained in the resolution and attached exhibits. Okay, and do we have a motion to approve? I don't think there were any amendments or anything to this. Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, you gotta push it. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
It's touchscreen.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Shively. We can't say Alexis, right? Vice Chairman Shively and seconded by Commissioner Jimenez.
That was Gomez. Was it Gomez or
He
Jimenez?
did.
Me.
Yeah,
It was
second.
me. He was just helping him out.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes?
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
The vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
We have a 2-minute break?
Okay, we have a request for 2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Next 3-minute break.
Okay, 3
A
minutes.
3-minute break. And don't get mad if it's 4 minutes, okay? Recess.
I was trying to ask if I could pass him this note because I went to my house briefly and it was vandalized. I need to call the police. I don't know about it hearing him. I just wanted to give it to him so I could get home.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Please contact me.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's come back together. We can, I haven't called it back officially, but. Okay, let me get the time. We're reconvening at 7:42 PM, Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. Item 7C, Development Plan Review 20-00019 and tentative parcel map 21-05272, TPM 38061. A proposal to reconfigure two parcels into 3 lots to facilitate the construction of 3 industrial buildings totaling 137,700 square feet, 49,300 square feet, 42,500 square feet, and 45,900 square feet on an 8.69 acre property located at the southeast corner of Indian Avenue, south of Harley Knox Boulevard, within the light industrial zone of the Paris Valley Commerce Center. Specific plan. The Operon Group is one that's the applicant. Adopt resolution number 22-08, adopting mitigate negative declaration 2368, and approving the developmental plan review 20-00019 and tentative parcel map 21-05272, TPM 38061. Say that 3 times, right? Based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. Is there any ex parte communication, I hate to say the word, but driving by site visits that anyone wants to report on at this time?
I have driven by the site today.
That's Commissioner Shively.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Driven by the site.
And that's Commissioner Jimenez and Chairman Hammond. I've also driven by the site. Thank you very much. And we're ready for the city to make a presentation.
Thank you, Chair, for that introduction. As mentioned this evening, we have before you the Operon Industrial Project. It is located in the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan with a light industrial land use designation and also surrounded by other light industrial land use designations to the north and to the south. A point of reference, to the south, we have the Home Depot Distribution Center. And to the west, we have the All-American Asphalt Company with a general industrial land use designation. And to the east, we have a vacant commercial parcel. Here we have a street view along Harley Knox Boulevard looking south. As you can see, the parcel is relatively flat, and the building you see before you towards the rear is the Home Depot Distribution Center. This image is a street view along Indian Avenue looking east. Again, you have Indian Avenue that's already fully developed, and you have 2 industrial projects already developed to the north and to the south. And again, the buildings to your right in this image is the Home Depot Center. And I apologize, the heading on the top says interior, but it's actually a street view along Harley Knox looking southwest towards the property. And again, that is the Home Depot Distribution Center. Here's an image of the site plan. Again, the applicant is proposing to construct 3 industrial buildings on 8.69 acres. And with the approval of tentative parcel map 38061, to subdivide the existing 2 parcels into 3 parcels. And the idea is to place 1 building for each parcel. Each building will be placed at the southern area of each parcel with parking towards the north along Harley Knox Boulevard and have its own dedicated truck yard and loading area towards the east of each building. Access will be along Harley Knox only as a right in and a right out. And again, due to the site configuration and its constraints, the parcel is elongated and shallow. And because of that, staff held an ad hoc committee meeting back in February of 2021 with 2 of the planning commissioners and the applicant. And as a result, as a result from that is the byproduct of the site plan you have before you this evening. Some of those modifications that were looked into was the auto and truck access had to be shared, again, due to the shallowness of the lot and the restriction from having access along Indian Avenue. And the auto and employee break area was segregated from the central shared driveway. With respect to the industrial development standards, staff evaluated the project site and it does meet all the requirements as far as setbacks, height, floor area ratio, etc. And as well as the parking standards, they actually exceeded by a couple of stalls. I was actually excited to let Mr. Commissioner Lopez know that the applicant will be proposing 2 vehicle charging stations per parcel. So, but he's not here this evening. Maybe he's listening in, right? Yeah. Here we have before you the landscape plan. We're meeting 13%, not just the standard 12. And also, staff was looking into the drought-tolerant plant palette, and it does meet the plant palette that's stated in the Paris Valley Commerce Center landscape portion or chapter, if you will. And also the plant palette is a drought water tolerant palette, or species, I should say. The one we have before you here is the rendering. I believe we do have a material board that will make its way around. The architecture in the building is modern. The building uses a combination of different roof lines, vertical columns, and recessed panels and windows, as well as a stone cladding veneer. The veneer is provided at the office entrances, and the color palette ranges from different shades of gray and whites to complement the veneer and to give overall visual interest to the building. This is a 2D elevation of Building 1. All the buildings will all be consistent in its architecture, perhaps just the placement and the spacing of the veneer and the wall paneling will differ just slightly because of its square footage, that's all. Here we have Building 2 and Building 3. With respect to CEQA, there was a mitigated neg deck that was prepared, number 2368. This document was sent out to public agencies, and notices were sent out to property owners within 300 feet radius. Everyone was notified of the project, and the document was circulated for 30 days for public review. And during that time frame, staff did not receive comments. Thus, this evening, staff's recommendation is for the Planning Commission to adopt PC Resolution 22-08 based on the findings in the attached exhibits. Recommending the Planning Commission this evening adopt a mitigated neg deck 2368 and approve Development Plan Review 20-00019. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions that the Planning Commission may have. We also have the applicant this evening, Mr. Chris Cassisur, as well as his development team that are on standby via Zoom to provide any further clarification the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. At this time, do we have any questions for the city? Okay.
Just a verbal confirmation that the plan that is being submitted to us today is the one that was agreed to during the ad hoc meeting. Is that correct? With city council members and commissioners?
Yes, the plan that was shared at the ad hoc committee meeting with the members of the planning
And
commission.
this is what was agreed to?
Correct.
Okay.
It differed just slightly, but overall, the scheme still remained. Still 3 buildings. And
The concerns for traffic?
Correct. Those were discussed and analyzed through the traffic report as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Can you go back to one of the floor plans?
Mr.
real fast?
Shively.
I'm sorry, Vice Chair, which
One of the floor plans. Is there any availability to actually park vehicles inside the units? That's all a couple roll-up doors.
There are roll-up doors in the truck bay areas, I believe, and I can have the applicant clarify a little bit more. I think there's a depression that ramps down to allow the truck to load, I believe. But not intended for a vehicle to enter.
Vehicles to be stored overnight inside. Okay, I'll wait for the applicant to.
Okay, very good.
Commissioner Jimenez, did you?
Can we go back to the elevations? I just want to make sure, because we have Indian on one side, and I want to make sure that the front is like, it has a lot of detail. I just want to make sure whatever is visible from any street has kind of the same architecture and enhancements.
Of course, yes. The image, well, this is building one, but yeah, the image at the bottom of this elevation is the one that we'll be seeing along Indian Avenue, which again still shows the pop-outs of the wall, the recessed paneling. We have the windows, we have the storefront windows, we have the veneer that has been brought to a significant height. Again, all just to create more of a statement and give visual interest to the building in itself. So you'll still see a nice building with its landscaping as well along Indian. And as people turn, on right onto Harley Knox, they'll see visual interest along all the buildings from Harley Knox as well.
Okay, so on the elevation for Harley Knox,
Yes.
going from right to left, like we have the part where it's the main entrance, we have the glass, we have all that. The middle has some windows, and then that little section on the left just looks like it was forgotten with aesthetics, because there's no little windows, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is the area where the trucks will come in and load in there. If the commission so desires, staff can work with the applicant to enhance that area.
Okay, yeah, we'll double check with the applicants, but yeah, just to enhance any part that is seen, just because looking at it really quickly, it does look like, going right to left, attention, and then, oh, we have this.
Yeah, if Ms. Jimenez, if you would like more symmetry, again, we can work with.
And then Indian is the only place where we would see, besides Harley Knox, Indian is really the only place where we would get a street view, because the other parts are in between buildings.
Correct.
Okay, and then can you go to the traffic flow one, please? Or to the, oh my gosh, I always forget the name. Remind me, the drawing with the pictures. Oh my gosh, I need to make a note of it. The site plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm gonna make a note for myself because I forget the name. I know what it is. So, to clarify, each building, so for example, building 1,
Yes.
their main point of entrance for and it's not gonna be it's gonna be semi-trucks, right? And this is when I recall because of the turning radius.
Yes.
So with these, semis would be coming in on that very first entrance along with cars, right?
Correct.
And then for the building number 2, they're going to be coming on that other far section and to
Yes.
building number 3.
Correct. Each parcel will have its own building and its own access.
Okay, and maybe this one's for engineering because I noticed that every building had excess parking. I don't know if it would be possible to find a space, and I know we don't want 1,000 driveways, so from an engineering perspective, just to keep auto parking and semi or driveways completely separate, is that something that you envision when you look at this, or do you think it would be impossible to maybe give up 2 parking stalls for each building to add a driveway, or is that something from an engineering perspective which wouldn't be safe at all?
That's correct. You want to negate any type of conflicting movements with trucks. This way we'll have a better control. of any truck and car movements. At least it be concentrated that.
In
point
one
of
section
access.
instead of two different sections.
Correct.
So based on, because this lot is like super long and skinny, I guess our two options are a bunch of driveways where we have conflicting ones around the street, or we have one access point, because, you know, with this kind of long lot, I can't foresee anything else. So out of the two, which one do you think is the safest? Do you think it's an auto entrance, truck, auto, truck, or do you think sharing that space? You know how I feel about it, so I'm asking you as an expert, which is the safest of the two options?
With this project site, with constraints, this is the safest type of movement we can accomplish.
Okay, thank you. That was it for me.
Anything else? Okay, this is, I hate to pick on the engineer tonight again, but now, this is what happens when you go to the area. That's why it's important. You go down Harley, Knox, nobody goes 50 miles an hour. This is a speed trap, right? I had to get out of the way of the car going that direction right in front of this. There's no right turn deceleration or deceleration lane there. So they're just going to be stopping and turning in. Look for accidents. So my concern there is there's no plan on that street, because that's a very busy street, and it's not just trucks, it's also autos. I made a point to go both directions. Went down Indian, came Indian, went east on that street. They were flying. Okay. If you're going to stop there and turn right in there, and you got 3 locations, there's nothing. So we just have to hope that they don't run into people. But you turn right into the facility, and I'm assuming these are not large 18, we don't know whether they are semis. So see, that's going to be an issue too. So I'm just wondering, the setback here is what, from the street itself? Is that 40 feet we're talking about? In other words, on the site plan, from the actual building to the street, to the actual sidewalk, end of the sidewalk, is that 40 feet?
58 feet.
58 feet. So I'm just asking the question, is that something that's reasonable, or is that something we're just going to have to live with, those people making right turns into that facility?
Are you concerned with the turning movement
Yes.
of autos going
And
into
our
the
trucks
building?
turning into that facility, there's no lane to turn in. So it's just straight turn, which means you just have to, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint, because I didn't see anything on the map, I didn't see anything on any of the designs, or other than we're just going to hope they turn in there. And there's 3 different locations to turn in there.
For
So,
autos turning movement, that's pretty standard.
yeah, but I mean, the
for that
trucks are
type.
going to be going in there too.
Trucks will be going in, but they will be going straight into their areas, into the.
But I mean,
truck.
on the street itself, Harley Knox, there's no acceleration or deceleration lane.
Deceleration, correct.
So we're just kind of hoping they'll slow down to 65.
To actually incorporate a diesel axle lane along this development, the type it is, it won't function.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to have, that may be an issue for safety. It might be an issue. Not saying it's something that's, I'm just wondering, and it's not easy because it's a real tight squeeze in terms of buildings, but you got to turn in there, and you have the parking lots that are all there with a 14-foot wall or something separated. But there's a lot of space in which you're going to want landscaping, obviously, there on the front. But I'm just wondering, with that, there's no consideration, there's nothing we can actually do on that street because
Because if you add another lane, as I said, a diesel axle lane won't function. The only other way I think you're probably alluding to is add another lane, and that would actually be a travel lane because of this continuity that
or you'd have to take away from the entrance and push it back, and then you'd have to have that as a turn-in. From that third, there's 3 lanes on Harley Knox, so you'd have to come over even more so to turn into. I'm just trying to figure out for safety reasons. Otherwise, we're just going to have to post.
One safety aspect of this is I just passed the traffic signal. That would give a break for exiting, for any type of egress.
But it's,
It
yeah, it's
will
the
give 'em a
entrance that,
break.
it's that entrance I'm kind of. Okay, it was just something I saw and noted there that they kind of fly on that street. And I mean, really flying. As it says 50, I think there's nobody going 50. Be nice if they were, but it's not happening. So that's my concern. And I didn't realize it was going to be these big rigs going in there. That makes it, they're going to slow it down quite a bit. So kind of, that's the only problem with having this in that little small location. You don't have a lot of wiggle room there. And Harley Knox is more popular than you think, as you live here. But yeah, that was a concern. And I guess if that's for safety reasons, if there's really no other alternatives, that was my only question there. I understand the 3 parcels. I understand the whole area there. To the right, that last, in building 3, there's a driveway. If someone builds next to that, then would that be one of those reciprocal egress, or that have to have their own separate property, their own separate entrance, and something separating that? Okay.
And at that time, we'll have to look at the spacing between the driveways.
Okay, okay.
But it's pretty typical in industrial areas to have driveways close to each other with restriction.
Okay, okay. We're picking on you tonight, I know. Okay, I'm good. Anyone else have any questions?
I just thought of something. So engineer, I know we've talked about, width of turns for the big rigs. But what I've also seen is if there's a big rig ready to turn right, people either come in on their blind side or they don't want to wait, so they go on the left side and like try to bypass them. So if there's a big rig trying to exit there and then autos coming from the parking lot because it's on the right, is there anything that we can do, like, I remember the name this time, a pork chop, so that 2 cars don't fit trying to turn? Do you see what I'm saying? So like if there's a big rig trying to turn right, I've seen cars that want to bypass them, and because there's more lanes, they may try to like bypass the truck just because it does take them longer. They do have to wait for there to be a bigger clearance for them to turn. So is there a pork chop or a turn, something? Remember how we did with the other one?
You're referring to channelizers.
Channelers.
Channelizers, if you widen the driveway to put a channelizer in to accommodate a right in and a right out or a pork chop, then you're going to lose some of the site. You're going to lose, it would have a ripple effect to the on-site design. So this way we'll have a better control. And it's a restricted movement, it'd be a right in, right out. So a pork chop or a channelizer in a driveway of this size would be restrictive.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have signs, but the people I've seen do it, there's signs. So they will still go on blind spots, or they'll try to bypass a big rig on the left, and because, they're quicker at making that right, or okay, well, I guess I defer to my fellow commissioners, but is there a way, and I understand, it's going to impact the overflow, maybe narrowing some of that green space in between?
I see what you're saying.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you just said?
So there's some greenery between, I guess, the last auto parking and the driveway, and same thing on the other side? Or when we subdivide, it's going to be 3 individual?
To widen the driveways and put a pork chop? Is that what you're...
How much more would we have to widen in order to do that?
Probably go up to the...
Very first
to
parking?
put it 56 feet.
We'd lose 16 feet, so we'd lose a green and maybe a parking spot.
Yeah.
40.
I guess we can always explore that option so that you can have that separation that maybe makes you feel more comfortable. If you want to give us the flexibility to kind of look into it, because they can lose 1 or 2 parking spaces.
Yeah, because they have excess.
Yeah, and we can
In our
just
buildings.
explore the possibility of putting a pork chop median so that if someone wanted to, they couldn't easily bypass the truck like you suggested. It would just...
Yeah, because I think even the channelizer we talked about the last time would help with that, right?
Well, no, you can have that one, pork chop is what you would implement for right in, right out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's something we can condition where staff works with the
You
applicant
can,
to-
but that would change the width of the driver because, like you said, the trucks to make the movement.
They require more space.
You need a wider radius.
Right.
Correct. And a wider lane.
Okay. All right,
Okay, would take a couple of.
that's it for me. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is there a portion of this parcel that is in the airport zone, and which zone is it in?
C1, sir.
Can you remind me what the restrictions are for the amount of occupants per acre?
Unfortunately, I don't have that calculation on me at this moment. There's a formula based on that, and I don't have that.
I'm sure that with this layout, I'm sure that formula was met. Other than this three-building layout that we looked at during ad hoc, has there ever been any other discussion relating to a business park or smaller buildings for this parcel?
No, Vice Chair, this has still been the same layout.
Yeah. It still has the same issues that we discussed before, where it's such a narrow parcel that there is no route behind it, and it's nearly I believe it could be a zero lot line, but I think they actually pulled it off the lot 4 or 5 feet or so.
Correct.
So it is pulled away.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I don't know, I'm gonna ask the attorney, can I ask if any changes were made since the ad hoc meeting, or if any of those recommendations were applied, and if so, which ones?
That would be fine. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe some of those was exploring into segregating the driveways for employees and for trucks. Right, we did go through different reiterations and through the traffic analysis. I believe originally we had the employee break shaded area next to the trash enclosure, and we wanted to separate that because we didn't want employees taking a break next to the trash enclosure, so that was moved towards the front. We made sure we tried to give a little more access to the landscaping. We worked heavily with the architect to provide more visual enhancements to the building as far as adding the stone, adding more pop-outs to the building to give it more interest and not just having one massive wall. I believe those were the items.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to prolong it much. I see her be in pain much longer. I see her point. Of course, I saw her point when she was saying it. And I'm not an engineer, but I'm going to sound like one. One of the things, too, ideally 2 entrances, one for auto, one for truck, is ideal because of the way this property is situated and the way these buildings are situated. However, one thing, and I'm going to bring it up with John, who's really good, to satisfy that, internally, when the auto vehicles, and one of the problems is you have a truck turning in and auto vehicles going out. Internally in this building, you would have to put a stop sign or some red lights there so the auto vehicles would have to stop and wait for the truck. So either flashing red, that's just an idea. So that auto is not just going to just turn left. You're waiting for the truck to come in. So some way, and this is an easy cost remedy, without having the pork chop and all the chandlers, you have a stop. So when you're coming out of the vehicle, those flashing reds say, no, this truck is turning in here because you're not going to beat the truck. She want to give your life away. So you're waiting on that truck to come in, and then it's clear to go out. So at least if you don't have a guard posted there, you don't have somebody, obviously, there would be, and then that's just a suggestion. I'm not technical. That car that you're looking at, all 3 of these buildings, they're coming to that location, and the truck may be turning in, you want those vehicles to stop. So whether it's flashing red, flashing yellow, that's a suggestion. If it were, and that's something for the city can talk about, discuss. If it makes sense, fine. If it doesn't, but I mean, I just came up with that idea because I think it was done in the past on something else. But I think that would be a much more simpler and cost-effective way of at least stopping the auto vehicles from just automatically getting ready to turn left and losing to the truck. So if this was just vans and the regular kind of vehicles, I wouldn't care, but these are semis. So that's a suggestion I have to at least look at. So internally, that could just be written in, and then you say, okay, it's flashing. You're going to have to stop. It's flashing in your eyes. So don't just make a left turn while the truck's coming in. You know, and see, somebody has to stop. So signs don't always do it, because people see stop signs. I see people go through stop signs all the time. But something flashing, something yellow, something there, maybe that's an alternative. Okay, so it doesn't have to cost you $2 million to put in a changing or something.
So some sort of traffic calming, controlling signage.
Yeah, we have conditioned projects before to put up flashing signs and so forth, as recommended by the traffic engineers for on-site control. Correct. We can incorporate a condition to that effect.
Okay, does that help?
It does help because you're right, you know, the cars trying to exit the parking, they're gonna be duking it out with trucks coming in and trucks leaving, so they have to like cross. It's almost like they're crossing a street just to exit the building. So yes, that would help. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions or comments for staff?
I wanted to respond to Shiley. I didn't get a chance to do that. The C1 restriction is 100 people per acre, and that's based on the building size. So if the building size is close to 43,000, which is about an acre, it's about a maximum of 100 people per building.
Each one is nearly an acre, so each one can potentially have 100.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Excuse me. And with that, we made you a little easier tonight. Thank you. And with that, we ask for the applicant, if the applicant has a presentation or anything like to say, just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
I'll
so
definitely
it can
spell
help
my
you.
last name for
yeah,
you,
help
for
us.
Sure. Thank you very much for letting me take the time to speak with all of you. My name's Chris Caesar. The last name, first name's Chris, C-H-R-I-S. Last name, K-W-A-S-I-Z-U-R. W silent, if you want to say the name. I'm used to people saying it wrong, so you will not offend me.
Okay. Chris Z. How about Chris Z?
Chris is fine. Thank you very much for considering our project. Operon Group is specializes in smaller buildings to mid-sized buildings around town, and we think that there's a need for that in the city of Paris. We've seen a tremendous growth of larger warehouses, 1 million square feet or more, and we think that it's kind of an unmet need where we come in and build smaller projects for lease and for sale. We typically like to lease and hold them, and we usually lease to mid-sized regional companies, mom and pops that have grown out of the garage, they're expanding. We feel that there's a need for that, and so that's what we specialize in. And this site has some serious challenges due to the dimensions of it. So we worked with our architect and with the planning department to come up with an ideal way where it works, where it's marketable. Because at the end of the day, it has to be marketable. We don't want to build a vacant building. And the way it works with this, one of the beauties of this site is that each truck court is going to have a gate, and security has really become very important, especially to truckers who come in and they'll leave their truck there for a while and go inside and come back out and not have something stolen or what have you. So we think it's a great project. I think it would be successful, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, sir. And at this time, if anyone has any questions for our applicant, Mr. Shiver.
So my question was to staff is there a way to actually park vehicles inside the unit, so the 3 buildings?
Well, I mean, theoretically, I suppose you could, but we really wouldn't allow that as a landlord. We just think it's not wise to bring vehicles inside, simply because you have exhaust and it's not built out. It's not built for that. We're going to have ESFR sprinkler system and other sensitive things in there. The trucks, there will be one grade level opening for smaller trucks to come in and make their deliveries and leave, or forklifts to come out. But typically, we don't design it to have cars inside. It's just typically not the way we operate. I've never seen a use where you would have that, although I imagine somebody could come along, but that's not something we would do.
Other than the truck dock areas, is there any intention to store empty truck trailers on each parcel?
No, I don't think that would be something we would do. The trucks are supposed to come and use the truck court as designed and then leave. If there's a trailer that comes or truck that comes in, they would leave it in the truck wells and leave it there. It's just not good for circulation to have a truck parked anywhere else, and getting in the way of other trucks coming in and going, turning around.
It's definitely, there's some limit in space.
Mm-hmm.
Limited space and turnarounds for trucks and.
Right. We designed 130 foot, which is it's actually a pretty good. I've seen 125 feet. That's real tight. We like to go 130 to 135 feet, and so 130 would be able to work in order for us to get the building size that we thought would be marketable.
It appears that each building's not really designed to sublease any portion of the building or have two tenants for a building. Is there a way that can happen to?
You're correct. They aren't designed to have multiple tenants, but just one tenant, one office pod. The way the parking setup is to have, if you were to have two, I imagine you could, but it would get in the way of the trucking and access and internally moving logistically things around. It'd be difficult. So plus they're on the, like I said, the small and mid-size. Typically, that's not an issue of getting a tenant in there. So I don't think it would be set up to demise it any further. If you did demise it, it'd be, I don't know how you'd get from the truck court to, like, say for building one, if you demised it down the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work. You'd have to have some sort of sharing agreement internally to get your product into your side of the warehouse.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do so. Which brings me to my next question is, throughout this parcel, has it been always intended to have three buildings, or did you at any point in time actually think it could be broken down into smaller building units?
Well, we did.
An office.
Yeah, we did look at that, and the way that it would lay out, the buildings got so elongated, they became as hard, inefficient for the way that logistics work to get product in and out. It was, we looked at several different iterations. I think we did 9 to 10, and this was the optimal one we came up with, given the constraints that we were facing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments for the applicant? Just a minute.
Thank you. My question would be, would you be open to working with staff on widening the driveways to incorporate maybe a pork chop and just the I guess, architecture on that Indian side on the far back?
Yes, are we open to anything reasonable? We've worked pretty well with Alfredo so far, and we continue to have that relationship. So I know that for truckers, they don't like the pork chops because they tend to run over them.
If they're not done correctly,
yeah,
yes.
We've done it before, and it becomes an irritant
to
them.
If they're too narrow or they're not done specifically for big rigs, yeah, they're a headache.
Well, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think one of the suggestions I just made earlier, it might be cost less effective. So leave it to staff, but at least it's something you would be willing to at least consider.
Of course.
Okay. Any more questions for? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your time.
Okay. At this time, we move to the public comment on this item. The only question I have is if there's anybody with Zoom, and I think I know the answer.
No, Commissioner Hammond, there's nobody on Zoom.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, no public comment. We close the public hearing and move to the commission for discussion, questions, issues, whatever you decide to bring up.
Thank you for presentations from the staff and from the applicant. I did not have as many questions as I normally would, considering that this has been vetted by council members and an ad hoc. However, I do appreciate the Commissioner Jimenez's opportunity to request to work with the applicant in regards to the big rigs coming in and out. Yes, they are a headache. We've heard that, but it does help them be more attentive and paying attention and not just driving in and possibly have, unfortunate accident with a pedestrian or a vehicle. It creates the caution in the driver. So really appreciate you working with our staff members on that. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez.
And, this one was hard with ad hoc too, because our feelings about not mingling traffic and, one of our main issues too, we asked about the trash enclosures because the break area was right by there, and it was explained that for big rigs, they have to go in, channel in, and then back up. The 130 barely for the two in the dock, if there's a dock there. And then the first one has a big rig with the tractor still attached. It's a hard turn for the middle two trucks. So that was one of our concerns too, was mobility within the area too. I'm happy they're willing to work with staff to see about the pork chops, although I know, big rig drivers really, really hate them. I've gone over a few with my husband. They're not comfortable. But I really think, and it's in this situation a little bit more just because it's commingling with the automobiles and the passenger vehicles instead of just big rigs at this corner or at the entranceways, at the driveways. That's it for me.
Commissioner Shively, Vice Chairman Shively.
I hope in the future that it could be, there's a parcel that's directly to the east of this that is similar dimensions. I would hope that perhaps something could be brought about having more of an office park or a warehouse little park that's even a little bit smaller building spaces, because I believe there is a need for a little bit smaller spaces, or perhaps the same size of space buildings but subdividable, that could be actually used a little bit more efficiently, that they can actually share the truck docking areas that in that side of the space for turnaround zone. I know it's a little bit of a headache to be able to figure that out. But as an architect, it's always that challenge to figure it out, and that's why I like the architecture. But Commissioner Jimenez is not picking on the truck drivers. Her husband is a truck driver. So she wants to see her husband return home just as safe as any employee return home safe. And if we can actually initialize these safeguards that were discussed here. To actually protect to notify the vehicle traffic inside the parcel that trucks are trying to turn in. I think that would be beneficial to all parties, owner or lessees. And I like to iterate, taking another look at the architecture and color of the building, especially along that Indian side. That's what I got. No, I took a look at it. I looked at the other three buildings.
Okay. Yes, and first, thank you, staff, for being patient and applicant. Essentially, it's only so much you can do because of the width of the property. So I'm not gonna, and then comes down to economics. We can ask for a lot of things, but it's financial. What can you get done? Who will be able to do this? And so this is a smaller square footage, It's going to be very limited. It's not different. We're not talking about Amazon. We're not talking about Home Depot. We're talking about smaller scale. So the difficulty with this project is on Harley Knox, and then the acceleration, deceleration lanes. That would be my utopia, but we have to be realistic too. Yeah, we'd like to see that. It's just not something. I think overall in this area, landscaping is at 13%, and that's okay. We want to really emphasize maintaining landscaping. That's something that's on Harley Knox's visual. Most of the other ones are very good. The Auto AAA down the street is really nice. And we're really pushing that a lot because California native stuff that's going to grow here, because it's not going to die in the summer. Because you have the wrong trees, the wrong plants, you can start all over again. But I think it's as much as can be done in this building. Ideally, 2 entrances would be well, but it's not probable. We always like auto and then separate from truck. But short of that, I still go back to the flashing lights or flashing yellow. It's a cost-effective way to do it. Doesn't mean I exclude the other one. It just means that what's cost-effective, what can we add tonight? And it's something that both can agree on, and that's reasonable. So, that's it. I think we have good colleagues that ask the right questions. I don't need to pursue it anymore. Architects are always asking for something different in color, so that's normal for Jack. You're not going to get anything past an architect. So, but again, the difference in designs in years of flat buildings of 15, 20 years ago, which is not acceptable today. So if it means more enhancement within the airport landing area, so it doesn't reflections. You always have to keep that consideration too. But I think this is a good job doing that, and as much as you could squeeze out of this. Lastly, the main concern was the trucks going out. That's why the suggestion to do that, because trucks going out, the natural progress of things is one going out. If you go out, whether it's Ryder or other places, the trucks, you're not going to beat the truck. So if the truck's turning out right, it's going to take a while. So that's the reality we have to deal with as up here, because we have to look out for our residents, and public safety is public welfare is one of the standards of the Planning Commission anywhere in the state. Okay, so public safety, you're going to get questions. How can we make sure it's a public safety issue? Then you get down to aesthetics, and then you get down to the other stuff, but it's not public safety. So we have to send it up. If it's approved, it goes up, but we have to question it, and it's not to pick on. It's just we have to make sure that that consideration is there. Having said that, I think we're at the point where let me get to the page. Ready for a motion. I think in terms of amendments, can add that as a separate COA, or if you want to consider, and ask staff, consider the other torch shop. Is that just a discussion matter that you want to do, and the other one add, or how would we want to do that?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, if I can bring your attention to condition number 13, engineering condition number 13, because we already had a condition. Please take a look. Yeah, for lighted signage, striping, and markings
let me get to
for
engineering.
on-site.
I have to scroll all the way down.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's already included.
It's already in there.
Condition number 13,
Okay.
engineering.
Pedestrian
condition.
traffic controls. Okay,
Did I
thank you.
miss it?
Yeah, I must have missed that one. I don't know how.
Where is
That
it?
was
But we will add to condition number 16, which references the standard for the driveway, will include a condition to specify and shall incorporate pork chop.
Okay, number
Thank you.
16, okay.
Number 16?
Correct.
Under number 16. Okay.
Yeah, number 13,
Would be the other, but 16 would
Is
be the
in
driveways
response-
per Riverside County.
correct.
Yeah.
So we
And that
specify
language.
the standard, and then we'll add that it shall incorporate pork chop.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm getting hungry. Keep saying pork chops.
That's why I remember that word.
Gravy and my stop. Okay. Okay. Oh gosh, that's in my mind. Okay, now a motion. Let me get to that page. Okay, so we got. You'll probably have to read them. I know. So we have I'll read the motion. Requested action: adopt resolution number 22-08, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2368 and approving developmental plan review 20-00019 and tentative parcel map 21-05272. TPM 38061. Based on the findings and subject to conditions of approval and amendments to the engineering conditions number 16, and with wording I'm sure he's going to say, and number 13 is already in place. So it's really number 16. We're adding the language to this effect to include pork chops in that particular language, whatever way wording is. Okay?
And working with staff for the architecture.
And working with staff for the architecture. Grill fry. See, now I want to eat now. Gosh.
Mr. Chair, if I may, with respect to the change to working with staff, is that in relation to the architecture?
Architecture.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. See, everybody's talking about pork chops now. Come on. Jeez. Okay.
Thank you, engineer.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay. Okay. We have a motion for this one. Oh, yeah.
Do you want a motion?
Mm-hmm. Oh, on the floor. Yeah. Commissioner Gomez has moved and seconded.
It's not showing up yet. Second.
Commissioner Shively, you second? Nope. Oh, Commissioner Jimenez, now it shows up as second. Thank you. No.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
The vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Patience. And with that, we move to item 8, business item, and I don't believe there's one that is on the agenda that I know of. We move to item 9, public comments. Anyone who wishes to address the Planning Commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Okay. If they were here, they would be able to walk up to the podium and wait for the chairperson to recognize you and have 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission. Otherwise, it's on Zoom, and if there's anyone on Zoom, let me know now. If not, we'll move on.
No, Commissioner Hammond.
Okay. Seeing that there's no public comments, we'll close that portion of the agenda and move on to commission members' announcements or reports. Gomez.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience today. I wasn't here last time. I wasn't feeling too well. I had my booster shot, so I just wasn't able to make it in. Thank you all for your patience. We have an upcoming, I'm very looking forward to the Academy for Commissioners. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I thank the City of Paris for allowing us to go and supporting us and sponsoring us to go out there. I think it's great. I can't wait to learn more and to bring it back. Want to thank everyone's just time for being here, the public comments. We really do appreciate it, and that's all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Jimenez.
Thank you. Also really looking for the League of California, looking forward to the League of California Cities Planning Commission training. Looking forward to learning a lot. I know when I first joined, it was right before the pandemic, so that was canceled. I don't think they had it virtual last year, so this is the first time that I get to attend. So I'm looking forward to that. Apparently Harbor Freight is a thing. I told my husband that's what was getting built when we drove by, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love Harbor Freight." He was almost as excited as I was about the Old Tub. So didn't know it was a thing. Apparently it is. And I did just want to clarify for the ad hoc, when ad hoc meets with applicants, we make recommendations, but we can't approve or say, if you submit it this way, it'll get approved. So it's just a meeting, and we kind of give them feedback, and we go back and forth with ideas. But, I just wanted to clarify that, there's never an agreement leaving those meetings. It's just conversations.
We're not always easy with them.
Huh?
We're not always easy with them.
We're not easy with them. Yeah. Okay. And that was it for me. And thank you, staff, again, for listening to our recommendations, looking out for things that you know that we're going to bring up. It's getting to the point where I feel like I just have to read through things without really making recommendations, and I like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Shively.
And I believe at that time when we had the ad hoc meeting, we were just kind of beginning to hit upon the point of cross traffic between trucks and vehicle traffic. But yeah, it's probably well known now from all the planners that that's one of the things we need to address. A second thing, that if you look at your emails from the city, there is an email from Judy regarding the Form 700 that needs to be filled out before April 1st. That's it.
Yes. And there are repercussions if you don't do it. I'll just say that much. Very expensive. Yeah. Which we would like for the city to pay. They're not going to do it. But yeah, it's online. It's very quick. I've done it. I can almost just repeat it and pull the sheet out and give it to them again. There's no changes. But you have to do it by April 1st, and I'm glad you brought that up. 1.2, I want to say how much we appreciate the staff. You know, you might have a few bruises, a few cuts, scrapes, but we appreciate the staff, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be asking these tough questions. Okay, but we know that they're more than capable. I want to keep John awake. Okay, let's be serious. But we appreciate the staff. We appreciate the input. And we appreciate that you take it to listen and to actually input it. And I think one of the good things about this city is that relationship. You'll find you go to commission, you're going to be all over the place with other cities. Some of them are, they're like a wall is between them, and other ones are very open, but we're probably the most open. We're probably the most laid back and probably the most detailed I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them. So I appreciate this, Commission. The questions asked, and we never just take things spot value, but every single project is taken important. So it doesn't matter if it's small, it doesn't matter if it's big, we take them all important, and we look at them that way. One good thing, too, for those people that like Kentucky Fried Chicken, the buildings, you can see the signage on the building. They're probably going to get ready before the Little Caesars. I guess Little Caesars going in there. But people keep asking about Kentucky Fried Chicken. What is this, fast food? Come on. You know, but they can't wait to see that go up. Every 5 minutes, where's fast food? Okay. So you start seeing the side. They put KFC there, so hopefully they'll be coming along. They're starting on the Harbor Freight thing, which is good. And I think MSW or MWS Shoes has something like that next to it. I'm not sure, but I know for sure it's the Harbor Freight. I appreciate, too, Councilman Rapp, because he has an email that he says openly public, so he says things, and because he can say it, I can say it. So, but I see that stuff there, and they have knowledge of it, so he's made it a point to send an email, send a blast out to people, and that's very good because it's open and it's transparency, and I like that. And with that, I'll leave it to, I look forward to the planning conference. I haven't been in 14 years. So I can imagine no one is there, because I've been here, outlasted all of them. But it's one of those fun things. If you can get to talk to other people, you start to find out you're not alone, you're not isolated. There are other commissioners, they have different ways of doing things. You know, and they'll talking about council, they'll start talking about how they have to operate, days that they operate, Tuesdays, Mondays, the crazies. But that's good. And I think this is the training the council was talking about. Did you have training? Yeah, you can say yes. So that's why it's important too. You don't want them to ask you, oh, did I try to go away? I missed it. If you get a chance to go, this is training. APA is okay, but APA is for the planners. This is for commissioners. You're going to find out total difference, you know. So I appreciate it. And Ryan for staying awake too. At least, yeah, right. Director of Development Services. Sure, go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add that today is my last night of having a little girl. She'll be 13 tomorrow. So I just wanted to say happy birthday, Sarah, because I know she watches too. So, you know, I'm a March baby. So tonight's my last night of having a little girl, and officially tomorrow she'll be a teen.
Drop me off on the corner, right? Yeah, okay.
And John, your employees need to stay full to the full meeting. They can't leave early.
Development Services, Mr. Kenneth.
Good evening, Chairman Hammond, members of the Planning Commission. good to be here tonight. I'm glad you guys are all going to go, and Gorgeous Planning Academy gives us a one meeting break. But all that means is that we'll have more projects in the first meeting of April. And so I think this is the first meeting that I recall where you're going to come back. We'll have a residential subdivision project. We will have the medical/pharmacy building that I mentioned to you before. That's ready now. That'll be going back in that meeting. And then we have our typical industrial project. So we have the whole gamut of the next meeting. Beyond that, just one exciting news. We had that discussion 3 years ago. We're looking forward to this famous hamburger joint that every city around us has. So, not McDonald's, not Wendy's, but In-N-Out officially submitted their application earlier this week, and so we'll be working with them. Hopefully, we'll get that to you soon. We'll work as quickly as we can to resolve just all the engineering layout issues, and then we'll take it before you for approval or recommendation for approval, hopefully later this year. You will make that decision. I will not tell you how to approve them. Okay, and that's all I have to report, and we'll see you in a month.
So just as a pun, red building, white stripes.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Anyway, thank you. And with that, we will look forward to seeing you in April. And hopefully all of us will be going to this thing. We'll get a lot out of it, bring back some material, and hopefully report on it in April. When I'm sure we're going to have a meeting in April. They'll be waiting on us with 10 different items, probably. But thank you very much, Director, and who has to drive back to his home city, right? But we appreciate it. With that, Ryan, we move to adjournment. And we're done. And we thank you, and we'll see you next month.
We'll help you out too. Utility bill